The years that passed did nothing to soften Jungkook's fixation. It only deepened into something darker, more relentless. What began as a memory of a fleeting encounter with a 16-year-old girl he thought he would never see again evolved into a routine, a habit, a secret ritual he could no longer resist. From the shadows, he lingered on the edges of your life, careful and precise, making sure you never once sensed his presence. He knew your schedule by heart, the places you often visited, the people you trusted. He blended into the crowd effortlessly, an unrecognizable silhouette in a world too busy to notice a man with his eyes always following you. Whenever you laughed with Junhee or walked beside Sam, his camera lens captured those moments, stolen fragments of your life that he hoarded in hidden folders. You grew, matured, blossomed before his eyes, and the innocent girl who once stumbled nervously that faded. Through that fated night in Brazil become a young woman of 20. And through those years, Jungkook's fascination turned into something no longer pure, no longer fleeting, but an obsession he carefully nurtured in silence. His phone was filled with candid images of you, stored carefully, protected as if they were sacred artifacts. Photos of you at the park, brushing hair from your face, smiling faintly at Junhee's antics, or holding Sam's hand while the dog tugged at the leash. Images of you studying at cafes, unaware of the man in the corner watching with a hood drawn low. He studied those pictures endlessly in the privacy of his room, tracing every detail with his eyes until he memorized each new features that maturity had sharpened in you. You weren't a child anymore, and Jungkook knew that. It was impossible not to. You had grown into your frame, into your presence, into something he could no longer dismiss as just youthful innocence. It unsettled him as it enthralled him. This shift, this transformation, this reality that you were no longer just a fleeting memory, but a woman who now haunted his every waking thought. The 4 years that marked your growth also marked his descent. Jungkook's night grew longer, consumed by watching the gallery of your life he had secretly assembled. The world saw him as composed, untouchable, unshaken. But beneath it all, there was only you. He replayed moments again and again, the way your hand moved when you adjusted your glasses, the tilt of your head when you listened intently, the sudden burst of laughter that lit up your entire face. He convinced himself that these things were meant for him to see, even if it from afar. You didn't know it, but he had craved a space for you in his life, a space that no one else could touch, not even the woman who tried to draw close to him. The truth was, no one compared to you, no one measured against the image of the girl he first saw. And the woman she was becoming. You had become his silent muse, the pulse behind his otherwise empty nights, and though you were completely unaware, your existence dedicated the rhythm of his world. Yet the more you grew, the harder it became for Jungkook to control the hunger that came with watching from afar. The innocence fascination had long been replaced by a deep, consuming desire. Every photograph was no longer just a keepsake, it became a proof. It became a proof of possession in his mind, a way of claiming moments you never gave him willingly. He would sit for hours staring at the images, the slideshow of your life unfolding under his fingertips, each picture intensifying the longing that coiled deep within him. His obsession wasn't loud or reckless, it was careful, restrained, disciplined, which made it all the more dangerous. No one knew what he was doing, no one could suspect because Jungkook never left behind traces of his shadowy devotion. But in silence, in secrecy, he built a kingdom where you were the only queen and he the silent ruler who kept you under constant watch. What struck him most was how seamlessly you adapted to the years, how gracefully you carried yourself as adulthood embraced you. At 20, you weren't the timid girl anymore, and he both admired and resented that growth. There was a sharpness in you, a now quiet confidence, a way of carrying yourself that drew people's eyes without you ever trying. He noticed it before anyone else did because he was always looking, always studying. Sometimes when Junhee teased you or Sam clung to your side, Jungkook would find himself clenching his fist, irrational jealousy flaring at the simple closeness of others. They could touch you freely, speak to you without barriers, exist beside you in ways he couldn't. But he always reminded himself it was fine because at the end of the day, no one else could see you the way he did. No one else could love you with the same burning devotion. He convinced himself that he was the only one who understood the shift in your smile, the subtle layers of your expressions, the language of your silences, and so as the years cemented the distance between you, Jungkook's obsession only grew more unyielding. To the world, you were just a young woman stepping into adulthood, craving her path, smiling and living freely, but to him, you were already his bound to him in ways you didn't know in ways you couldn't escape. Every stolen picture, every hidden memory, every unspoken glance stacked up like chains in his mind, binding you closer and closer to him. He didn't need to touch you yet, didn't need to claim you openly, because in his mind you were already claimed. Watching you grow from 16 to 20 was a slow torment, yes, but also a slow seduction because in every step of your transformation, Jungkook was there, silently recording, silently admiring, silently falling deeper into a love that had become an unstoppable obsession. Your candid pictures became his lifeline, the only thing that quenched the fire inside him, yet at the same time fueled it endlessly. That 16-year-old girl he once tried to resist had now grown into a 20-year-old woman, and Jungkook could no longer deny the truth. He wanted you closer, within his reach where no one else could touch or influence you. He no longer wanted to be the shadow lurking behind you. He wanted to be the center of your world. It was in the depth of his dangerous longing that Jungkook's mind began to twist with a new idea, one that crossed all boundaries he had once thought he would never step over. He could no longer remain just a silent admirer, no longer content with standing in the dark corners of your life. He wanted you in his home, in his daily existence, bound to him in ways no one could interfere with, and so he turned his gaze towards Meena, your single mother, not because he wanted her, not because she stirred even a flicker of desire in him, but because she was the bridge that connected him to you. His obsession made him ruthless, willing to orchestrate an entire facade just to ensure you would be in his world. If Meena were to fall for him, if she were to trust him enough to give her hand in marriage, then everything would fall into place. You wouldn't just be someone he followed from afar anymore. You would be living under the same roof, a step away from his grasp. The thought was as intoxicating as it was twisted. Jungkook, for the first time in years, allowed himself to feel a strange kind of anticipation, a thrill that pumped through his veins like poison. By hook or by crook, he would make this happen. He envisioned the grand deception in his head, the charm he would use to lure Meena in, the patience he would feign to build her trust, the perfect illusion of a doting man he would create to capture her heart. And once the trap was set, once Meena was bound to him, it wouldn't be her he truly wanted to keep. It would be you. You, the girl he had admired and obsessed over for years, would finally be within his reach, within his walls and within his control. It was wrong, it was dangerous, it was madness, but Jungkook had stopped caring about morality a long time ago. In his mind, love had already blurred into possession and possession into destiny. If he had to become your stepfather just to own a just to own a place in your life, then so be it. For him, nothing else mattered anymore. The hotel's grand lobby was beginning to empty as the charity event came to an end. The soft hum of music was replaced by the sound of heels clicking against polished marble, mixed with faint laughter from lingering guests. Meena, your mom, adjusted her clutch under her arm, glancing around for the exit. She always disliked these high class events. Too much wine, too much fake smiling. Her small business kept her busy enough mingling with millionaires was not her world. She turned the corner of the hallway, eyes lowered as she checked her phone, when she suddenly collided with a tall, broad figure. Oh, I. She gasped, her body losing balance, but before she could stumble, a strong hand caught her firmly by the waist, the touch both protective and lingering. Her breath stalled. Careful. A deep, velvety voice spoke, low and intimate, almost as if it was meant for her ears alone. She blinked up and froze. The man before her was striking. Dark hair, perfectly styled yet effortlessly trousled jaw, sharp enough to cut glass. Deep brown eyes holding a dangerous glint that seemed to scan every inch of her face. He wasn't just handsome, he was magnetic. Jungkook. 4 years of watching from the shadows, of taking photos without being seen, of memorizing your routines, of carefully plotting this very moment all led here. And now here she was in his completely unaware of what he truly was. You alright? Jungkook tilted his head slightly, his gaze still fixed on her as if the rest of the world didn't exist. Yes, I'm fine, she murmured quickly, looking away, her heart thudding at the unexpected closeness. She tried to step back, but his hand only slowly loosened as though reluctant to let go. Good, he said softly, then let his lips curve into a subtle smile. It would be a shame if someone as stunning as you got hurt. Your mom blinked, caught off guard by his sudden charm. Oh, that's kind of you to say. Kind? No. Jungkook chuckled under his breath, eyes trailing down her figure just long enough to make her shift in place. Just honest. She cleared her throat, clearly not used to this sort of attention. Well, thank you, Mr. John, he supplied smoothly. Jungkook John. Her brows knit slightly. I don't think we have met before. Not officially, Jungkook replied, watching her intently. But I noticed you tonight. You stand out, you know. She gave a polite, almost nervous laugh. I'm sure you say that to many women at these events. Wrong, he said instantly. His tone was dipping lower. You are not like them. Your beauty isn't practiced. It's not pointed on. It's real. You look warm. He smiled faintly, and a little lost in this crowd. She didn't know what to say to that. Jungkook took a small step closer, just enough to brush against her personal space without crossing the line. May I know your name? It's Meena, Kang Meena, she said with a shy smile, giving her real name afterward. Meena. Jungkook repeated her name like he was testing it on his tongue, his voice wrapping around the syllable. Beautiful name for a beautiful woman. She looked away again, embarrassed. You are very straightforward, Mr. John. I believe in not wasting time, he replied without missing a beat, his eyes darkening just slightly. Life Life is too short to hesitate when something or someone catches your attention. Your mom bit her lip and took a step back, but Jungkook only followed with a softer smile. How about, he said casually, we continue this conversation over coffee? There's a place nearby, quite warm. Just the kind of place where you and I could talk without all this noise. She hesitated, glancing towards the exit. I don't usually do this, neither do I. Jungkook lied effortlessly, his tone dropping to something conspiratorial. But tonight feels different, don't you think? There was something in his gaze, something persuasive, magnetic, that made it hard to say no. Alright, she finally said with a small nod. Jungkook's smirk widened just a fraction, but he quickly masked it with polite charm. Perfect, I'll take that as a yes. He gestured her for to walk ahead, but as she passed, his eyes lingered, not in admiration for her beauty alone, but in cold calculation. 4 years, 4 years, 4 years of watching you grow from that stubborn, sharp-tongued 16-year-old into a beautiful 20-year-old woman. 4 years of staying hidden, feeding his obsession in silence. Now, step one of his plan was complete. Win Win your mother's trust, marry her on paper, and secure his position permanently in your life. And as he followed your mom out of the hotel, his lips twitched into a dangerous smirk. Soon, my love, you won't even know how close I'll be to you, he whispered to himself while walking behind Mena. The morning sunlight spilled lazily through the half-open curtains, painting the kitchen in soft golden hues. The smell of freshly brewed coffee lingered in the air, mixing with the gentle sizzle of butter on a hot pan. You sat at the breakfast table in your oversized t-shirt, still a little sleepy, rubbing your eyes and scrolling aimlessly through your phone. Your mother, Meena, moved quietly between the stove and the counter, but you noticed something is off. She wasn't humming today, nor was she rushing. Instead, she kept glancing your way with that kind of hesitation that meant she had something on her mind. Wyan, Mina's voice broke the comfortable silence. She sat a plate of toast in front of you but didn't sit down right away. Her fingers lingered on the edge of the chair as if she wasn't sure whether to join you or keep pacing. You looked up, eyebrows lifting. Hmm, what's up? She gave you a small, almost nervous smile. There's something I want to talk to you about. The instantly caught your attention. You put your phone down, suddenly feeling more awake. Okay, you're scaring me. Is everything alright? Meena finally sat down, her fingers clasping around her coffee mug like she needed its warmth for courage. It's about someone. Your head tilted. Someone? Yes. She inhaled slowly, eyes darting to the table instead of your face. Ryan, you know how after your father passed away, I didn't really think I would ever meet someone again. I was just focused on raising you and keeping our little world stable. But a few months ago, I met someone unexpectedly, and we have been seeing each other. You blinked, processing her words. Wait, you have been dating? Her cheeks colored faintly. Yes, for almost 7 months now. You sat back, still a little surprised. You didn't tell me? I know, sweetheart. Meena said quickly, her tone soft and a little apologetic. I didn't want to rush anything or bring someone into your life unless I was sure it was serious. But I think it's time you met him. You raised and broke, though a faint smile tugged at your lips. You're serious about him? She nodded, her eyes softening. Very serious. He's kind to me, Ryan. He makes me feel cared for in a way I didn't think I would feel again. And I really want you to meet him. You leaned your elbow on the table, resting your chin on your hand. So what he is like? Is he older than you? Does he have kids? Is he boring? That earned you a quiet laugh from her. No, not boring. He's charismatic, a little intense at times, but in a way that makes you feel like you have his full attention. He's successful, confident, and he's been very patient with me. You smile faintly, your chest warming at the sight of her so genuinely happy. Oma, you are blushing. You never blush. Meera rolled her eyes but couldn't hide her shy grin. Stop it. I want you to give him a chance, Ryan. I think you might like him. You shrugged lightly. If he makes you happy, I already like him. You have been through so much, Amma. If this guy makes you laugh and smile again, then I'm fine with it. I'll even accept him as my stepfather if that's where this is going. She froze for a moment, her expression softening with something almost like relief. You mean that? You nodded firmly. Yeah, I mean, it's weird to imagine, but you deserve to be happy. And if he's good to you, then. Then I'm all for it. Meena reached across the table, squeezing your hand gently. Thank you, sweetheart. That means a lot to me. He's been eager to meet you too. You chuckled. Well, tell him not to be nervous. I'm pretty great. She laughed again, shaking her head. I will. We will set up a dinner soon, okay? Somewhere nice. You grinned. Sure, but I'm picking the dessert. And as Meena smiled across the table, hiding the tiniest flicker of something you couldn't quite place. You had no idea that the man you were just promised to accept as your stepfather was someone who had once looked at you not like family but like an obsession. The warm golden light from the restaurant's chandelier cast a soft glow across the table, the clinking of cutlery and the low hum of other dinner filling the background. Mina's boyfriend came and sat in front of you, both after apologizing for coming late. Mina was sitting beside and you were scrolling your phone all the time, not noticing the man in front of you. Mina, her smile bright, almost nervous as she looked between you and the man sitting directly across. Why, Mina began, her voice carrying that slight hesitant warmth. This is Jungkook. She glanced at him as though he was the best decision she had ever made and then back at you hopeful. Jungkook, this is my daughter, Ryan. Your gaze froze. You looked up slowly and your breath hitched so violently you swore you could hear your heartbeat in your ears. There he was, the same man who saved you 4 years ago in Brazil, the same man who had been your comfort in a foreign country when you were just 16, the man with whom you spent your 4 months in Brazil, the same man you had loved, and now he was sitting across from you, wearing a polite and charming smile, looking every bit the attentive boyfriend. Nice to finally meet you, Jungkook said smoothly. His tone was warm and inviting, but there was a glint in his eyes, hidden, deep, almost taunting, that you caught instantly. Extended his hand across the table. Your fingers hesitated before they touched his, and even that small contact sent a painful, uninvited rush of memories through your mind. You quickly withdrew, forcing your voice to stay even. Hi, you said it flat, almost clipped, your eyes flicking away as though the menu suddenly became the most interesting thing in the room. So, Ryan, he continued, leaning forward just slightly, playing his role like an expert. Your mom tells me you have been working part time and studying at the same time. That's impressive. You nodded once. Yeah. Do you enjoy it? He asked, tilting his head with a smile, like a man trying to connect with his girlfriend's daughter for the first time. You swallowed hard. It's fine, Meena chuckled softly, trying to lighten the mood. She's always been like this. Short answers, very private. Jungkook's eyes flicked to yours again, his gaze holding for a moment too long. I don't mind. I like figuring people out. The words were casual, but you knew the weight behind them. You knew he was saying more than he was letting on. You gripped your fork tighter, staring down at your plate, avoiding his eyes as the memory of Brazil flooded your mind. The late night walks, the way he made you laugh when you were scared, the quiet way he had looked at you when you confessed your fears. The waiter brought the food and Mina carefully started talking about the event where she would meet Jungkook, how charming he would be and how kind. You forced yourself to listen without reacting, even as every laugh she gave seemed to twist something deep in your chest. Jungkook played along perfectly, asking about your hobbies, your studies, if you liked certain food, never once letting on that he knew you far beyond what Mina believed. You don't talk much, do you? He finally said with a testing tone and a soft smile. Not to strangers, you said sharply, before you could stop yourself. The air thickened for a moment. Mina gave you a gentle nudge under the table, a silent, be nice. Jungkook just chuckled softly, leaning back in his chair. Fair enough. The rest of the dinner passed in a blur of you avoiding his eyes, chewing slowly, giving short replies, and feeling the burn of unshed tears pricking behind your ears. Every time your gaze accidentally met his, he would give you that subtle knowing look, the one that said, I remember everything. And I know you do too. When Mina excused herself to take a phone call, you finally dared to glance at him. He was already watching you, lips curved in the faintest smoke, like this was all some twisted game he was enjoying far too much. You look the same, just mature enough, he murmured quietly, just for you, his voice low enough not to reach anyone else's ears. Not even you, still trying not to cry in front of me. Your chest tightened painfully. You bit your lip, forcing your eyes down to your plate again, gripping your fork like it was the only thing anchoring you. You took a deep breath and looked up at him. What? Did you say something? He looked at you coldly. For a second, he was ready to answer you, but he stopped when he saw Mina coming back. When Mina returned, Jungkook was back to being the perfect gentleman, as if nothing had happened. You spent the rest of the evening pretending to be fine, pretending that you weren't breaking inside, pretending that the man sitting across from you wasn't the one you had once wanted to spend forever with, and now he was. He was sitting there as your mother's boyfriend, and he knew exactly what he was doing. The moment your bedroom door clicked shut behind you, the weight in your chest exploded. Your back hit the door as you slid down, curling your knees to your chest. The tears you had been swallowing all evening came rushing out like a dam breaking. You pressed your palms against your face, but it was useless. The sobs kept clawing their way out, each one more suffocating than the last. How could it be him? How could the man who once held you like you were his whole world, the man who told you under the starlit Brazilian sky that he would never forget you, be sitting across the dinner table tonight pretending you were just a stranger? Worse, how could he be your mother's boyfriend now? Your stomach churned at the thought. The ache was so sharp it almost made you dizzy. You pushed yourself off the floor and stumbled towards the desk in the corner of your room. Your hands shook as you pulled open the drawer where you had kept them, hidden, sacred. Untouched for years, sketch after sketch came out, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Some were quick outlines of his profile, others were detailed, almost photographic portraits of him, smiling, frowning, looking away, staring right at you. You would draw him from memory over and over again, each line in an attempt to keep him close when he was an ocean away. For years, you whispered bitterly through your tears, flipping through them. For years, and you show up like this, the paper blurred as tears dripped onto them. You could almost hear his laughter from Brazil, smell the ocean salt on his skin, feel the weight of the bracelet he had tied on your wrist that last night before he disappeared. You promised, you choked, your voice trembling. You promised you wouldn't forget me. The rage inside you bubbled over. Without giving yourself time to think, you clutched the entire stacks of sketches against your chest and stormed out of your room. Your feet moved and on instinct down the hallway through the back door into the cloud night air of the backyard. The stars above mocked you. They looked exactly like the ones you used to count with him. You dropped to your knees in the middle of the yard, the damp grass soaking into your jeans. The tears wouldn't stop, but now they were mingled with raw burning anger. You grabbed the can of gasoline your family kept by the shed, unscrewed the cap, and poured it over the stack of papers. The strong chemical smell hits you instantly, stinging your nose. The sketches became damp and shiny under the moonlight. Every line, every shadow, all for nothing. You muttered bitterly. You set the gasoline can aside and reached into your pocket from the lighter. For a moment, your thumb hovered over the spark while your breath coming in shallow bursts. This was it. 4 months of memories, hundreds of hours of drawing, the only tangible proof he had ever been yours in some small way, all about to disappear. Your hand trembled as you lit the flame. It danced in front of you, small but fierce, casting flickering shadows across your wet cheeks. Without another word, you touched it to the corner of the stack. The fire caught instantly, hissing and curling the edges of the paper before swallowing them whole. The flames grew quickly, orange and gold against the black night, devouring every sketch one by one. The smell of burning paper and gasoline rose into the air, stinging your eyes even more. You reach for your wrist, the bracelet, that simple braided band with the small silver charm, the one he had bought you from a street vendor on your last night together. You had never taken it off in 4 years, not once. Your fingers fumbled with the knot, but it finally came loose, and the weight of it in your palm felt heavier than it ever had before. You stared at it for a long moment, memories flashing in your mind like cruel home movies. Him fastening it into your wrist, him smiling under the Brazilian moon, him kissing your forehead before disappearing into the crowd. I hate you, you whispered, though the words broke in the middle, sounding more like I miss you. And then you threw it into the fire. The silver charm caught the light for a split second before vanishing into the flames, disappearing under the burning sketches. Under it was nothing but blackened metal. The heat from the fire hit your face, but you didn't move back. You just sat there, hugging your knees, watching your year of longing and love turn into ashes. The smoke cooled into the sky, and you almost wished it would carry the memories away with it. From the open window above, faintly, you thought you heard footsteps, someone moving inside. But you didn't care if it was your mom or even him. You didn't care if anyone saw you. Tonight, you weren't the girl who once loved Jungkook. Tonight, you were just the girl who burned him out of her life. The morning after that night felt heavier than it should have. The sun streamed through the thin curtains of your bedroom, casting a warm glow over the pile of books on your desk and the clothes you had carelessly thrown onto the chair. But there was no warmth in you to match it. You woke up earlier than usual, not because of work or studies, but because you didn't want to risk crossing paths with Jungkook in the kitchen. Yes, he is staying with you and your mom from now on, and they decided. After the marriage, they will shift into his mansion. You could almost imagine his voice, low, casual, teasing in that way that used to make your heart skip a beat. But now, even thinking about it sent a cold wave through you. The last thing you needed was to be reminded of the ache in your chest, the one you had decided no, promised yourself you would bury. You brush your teeth in silence, skip breakfast entirely, and grab your bag as though the walls of your home could crush you if you lingered too long. As the time passes, Juni noticed the shift almost immediately, and you told her everything. You met her later that day at the small cafe across from your university. The moment she slid into the seat opposite you, her brows furrowed. You have been avoiding him, haven't you? She asked softly, stirring her coffee even though she hadn't added any sugar yet. You didn't need to ask who she meant. I'm just busy, you replied, your voice thin, eyes fixed on the foam of your late. Busy with work, with classes, with life. She gave you that look, the one that said she didn't believe a word you were saying. You can lie to your professors, to your boss, even to your mom, but you can't lie to me. You bit your lip, forcing yourself to meet her gaze. It doesn't matter now. He's going to marry my mom, Johnny. Whatever I felt before, it's over. I can't afford to feel that way about him anymore. He's going to be my stepfather soon. It became your unspoken mission after that to build walls so high that Jungkook wouldn't be able to climb over them. You buried yourself in your part-time job at the bookstore, taking extra shifts even when you were exhausted. You started joining Junhee for late-night study sessions, not because you needed them, but because they kept you out of the house until you were sure Jungkook had already gone to bed. At home, you spoke to your mom about wedding details, about flower arrangements and guest lists, as if nothing else in the world existed beyond her happiness. And she was happy, radiantly so, and you told yourself again and again that this was the reason you were doing all of this. You could endure your own discomfort, your own heartbreak if it meant she could smile like that. But Jungkook wasn't oblivious. One evening you came home late from work and he was there in the hallway leaning casually against the wall near your bedroom door. You have been suppressed lately, he said, his tone calm but his eyes searching your face like he was trying to read every unspoken word. You kept your expression neutral. Work, studies, you know how it is. He tilted his head, a faint smile playing on his lips. Right, and here I was thinking you were avoiding me. You forced a laugh, bitter sound. Why would I do that? His gaze lingered on you for a long silent moment before he stopped. Junhee became your anchor during this time. She dragged you to art exhibitions, to small weekend markets, even convinced you to join a poetry class just to keep your hands and mind busy. Distraction is the cure, she said one afternoon as you sat together shaping clay. You can't just sit there and let old feelings eat you alive. You gave her a small smile. I'm not letting them, I'm burying them. She raised an eyebrow. Same thing, Lion, except one sound like healing and the other sound like slow death. Still, you kept going week after week until your routine was so packed there was barely any time left to think about Jungkook, except in the quiet moments at night when the world slowed down and your mind betrayed you. Months passed and you told yourself you had succeeded. You could look at him without feeling that dizzy rush in your chest. You could hear his voice and not flinch, see him sitting across from your mom at dinner and not imagine 100 impossible scenarios. You had packed away every memory, his laugh, the way he used to tease you, the rare moments when his guard slipped and you saw something softer in him. Thought you had. You buried those 4 months of Brazil like it never happened, but there were cracks in the armor you had built. Like the time you overheard him on the phone late at night, his voice low and almost tender, and you realized you would stop in the hallway just to listen. Or when he offered to drive you to campus on rainy morning and you hesitated not because you didn't want to be near him, but because you did. Still you forced a polite soak through your clothes as you walked instead. You convinced yourself that this was strength, denying yourself what you wanted most for the sake of something bigger, for your mom, for the peace of your own heart. One night, sitting across from Junhee at your favorite ramen place, you finally said it out loud. I'm free, you told her, twirling noodles around your chopsticks. I don't feel anything anymore. She gave you a long, skeptical look. If you have to keep saying it, maybe it's not true. You laughed a little too loudly. It is true. I have moved on for my Oma, for her happiness. But as you said it, you caught your reflection in the restaurant's window, your eyes distant, your smile tight, and wondered who you were trying to convince. The wedding happened quietly but beautifully. You stood beside your mom watching her glow in a way you hadn't seen in years. Her smile soft and unguarded as Jungkook slipped the ring onto her finger. You clapped along with everyone else, masking the storm of emotions you had already worked so hard to bury. By then, the feelings you once had for Jungkook were locked away deep inside, a place you would promise yourself never to open again. He is my stepfather now, that's all he will ever be. So, when the small reception ended and it was time to move into his mansion, you walked in with polite detachment, treating like just another. The mansion was massive, every room filled with expensive art, tall glass windows that let sunlight flood in and hallways that felt too quiet at times. You were polite, formal even during the first months, addressing Jungkook only when necessary. If he asked if you wanted breakfast, you would respond with a short no thank you. If he knocked on your door to check if and you would keep the conversation minimal. Not once did you bring up Brazil that night when you were 16 when everything between you had been different. It was as though the memory had been collectively erased, both of you silently agreeing it didn't exist. Both. He didn't try to revise it, and you were grateful for that. You poured yourself into distractions, studies, work, and hobbies that kept you out of the house as much as possible. Junior remained your rock during that time, pulling you out of dark moments, encouraging you to laugh again, to make plans for the future. Slowly, the sharp ache in your chest dulled into something faint, almost unnoticeable. A year passed with this careful distance between you and Jungkook, the two of you coexisting under the same roof but orbiting each other like distant planets, close enough to see, far enough never to touch. But time has a way of softening walls. It started with small, almost unintentional moments. One night you were working late in the study and Jungkook bought you tea without saying much, just setting it down and leaving. Another time you were struggling to change a light bulb in the hallway and he appeared without being asked, holding the ladder steady. These little gestures built into something unspoken, a fragile, tentative bond. He began asking about your classes, not in a praying way, but in that subtle, almost fatherly tone. You found yourself answering more than just fine. You would tell him about a project you were working on, a presentation you were nervous about, and in return he would share bits of his own day, things about his company or frustrations with his small mafia work. Soon you stopped avoiding the dining room when he was there. Dinners became less awkward. Sometimes he would make an effort to cook himself. He was surprisingly good at it, and you teased him once about being We stand on the corporate world instead of opening a restaurant. He smiled at that, saying, I'll keep it in mind for retirement. These moments didn't erase the past, but they rewrote your dynamic into something safer, more stable. One day, while you were leaving for a trip with Junie, you caught Jungkook at the doorway holding an umbrella for you in the rain. He told you to text when you arrive in that casual but quietly protective tone that made you pause for a second longer than necessary. It was the first time you realized that you no longer saw him through the lens of old feelings, you just saw him as family. It startled you, but in a way it was comforting. The past was a locked chest you no longer needed to carry. By the end of that second year, the bond was real simple, unburdened, almost ordinary. You could talk to him without fear of saying too much, share space without tension. The Brazilian meat stayed buried in both of your memories, sealed by mutual silence. There was an unspoken understanding whatever had happened back then didn't belong in the present. Now you were just a daughter and he was just your stepfather, and strangely enough, that felt right. You sat on the cold bathroom floor, your knees pulled against your chest as if curling yourself into a ball could protect you from the reality that had just shattered the last piece of strength you had left. Your trembling hands gripped the thin plastic stick, your knuckles turning white as your tears fell endlessly, staining the desk with drops that blurred the two pink lines staring back at you like a curse. You let out a sharp breath that broke into a sob, your lips trembling as you whispered to yourself in disbelief. No, no, please, no, this can't be happening. Not with me. You shook your head furiously, your wet strands of hair sticking to your tear streaked face, your body trembling as the bathroom walls seemed to close in on you. I don't want this. I never wanted this. I never asked for this life. You pressed the stick against the tiled floor and let out another broken cry, clutching your stomach with your other hand as if the weight of it was suddenly suffocating you. I hate you, Jungkook, you whispered, your voice barely audible through the choking sobs that tore through your throat. I hate you so much, Jungkook. You ruined everything. You ruined me. Your voice rose louder as if you were trying to convince the walls or maybe the reflection of yourself in the cracked mirror across the bathroom. You stole me from myself. You trapped me here like I'm nothing but a doll for you to play with. And now this. You lifted the desk, shakily again, staring at it as if maybe, just maybe, the lines would disappear if you wished hard enough. Why me? Why my life? Why couldn't you leave me alone? Your voice cracked as you pressed your forehead against your knees, rocking yourself slightly as if you could comfort your broken soul. You were supposed to be my family, my stepfather, not this monster, not this nightmare I can't wake up from. You hugged yourself tighter, your nails digging into the soft skin of your arms, the sting reminding you that this wasn't a nightmare but a cruel reality you had been forced into. I tried to run, I tried. You whispered, recalling the afternoon you gathered your courage and ran barefoot into the darkness only to be dragged back by his men and locked away under tighter chains of control. But you found me, you always find me, like I'm your possession, like I don't even have a right to breath unless you allow it. You let out a bitter laugh between your tears, your voice trembling with madness and despair. And now I'm carrying your child? God, this is a prison I can never escape from. Uncaged inside your twisted obsession, and now even my body has betrayed me. You slammed the test against the floor, the plastic cracking faintly, and you cried harder, your hands covering your face as you screamed into the silence. Your voice softened, broken, as you mumbled into your palms. I used to love you. Do you know that? Before you became my stepfather, before you showed me what you really were, I loved you. I admired you, and you killed that love with your own hands. You turned it into this. this poison that's eating me alive. You lifted your head again, tears dripping down your chin. Do you hear me, Jungkook? I hate you now. I hate every time you touch me. I hate every time you whisper my name like I belong to you. You took something beautiful and you destroyed it, and now you expect me to carry this child, to raise your blood inside me. You clutched your stomach again, sobbing so hard your entire body shook. No, I can't. I don't want this. I don't want you inside me in any way anymore. You leaned your head back against the wall, your eyes red and swollen, staring up at the ceiling as your tears continued to flow endlessly. I want my life back. I want my Oma back. I want my friend Sam back. I want freedom. I want to breathe without fearing your shadow watching me. I want to walk outside freely without those guards reminding me I'm nothing but a prisoner in your mansion. I want to be me again, not this broken, miserable version of myself you created. Your voice cracked as you whimpered again. But I can't because you won't let me go. You never will. And now, with this child, you will tighten your chains around me even more. You pressed your hands against your face, again whispering brokenly, I'm suffocating, Jungkook. You're suffocating me. You are killing me without pulling the trigger. Finally, your hands dropped limply to your sides, the stick laying shattered on the floor beside you, the evidence of your prison mocking you silently. I'll never forgive you. You whispered, your voice hollow, almost lifeless, not for caging me, not for breaking me, not for stealing the love I once had and twisting it into this nightmare. And certainly not for this child. This reminder of everything you forced upon me. Your body slid down until you were almost laying on the tiles, your tears pooling around your face. You stared blankly at the ceiling, your chest heaving as your sobs quieted into broken whimpers. I'm nothing but a bird in your cage, Jungkook, and now I'll never be free. Never.